Okay. All right. Hey, there's Ichthus already. Eli, all right. Hey, guys. Sorry, I've been having some trouble with my light. Keeps coming down too far. So, just getting this set up. Get some stuff over here for us. I have got some cool stuff to show you guys tonight, that's for sure. So, let me just gather up my things here. And here's one of them I'll give you guys to look at while I am setting up here. Alright, let's get some links up here. Welcome Eli, welcome Ichthus, good to see you guys. Alright. There's one. And let's just do two today. I have time limits on all of my social medias, which has been a really good thing. But on days like today where I'm doing a stream or something, I've got to always I've got to get it all set up again. All right, one more. We live. Okay, what's going on here? There we go. All right, no, not music. We need a link. A link, everybody, a link. All right, here we are. Jeremy, good to see you. All right, folks. Oh, okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Is everybody having a good night? Is everybody staying out of trouble? I hope. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to show this, so I probably won't show a lot of it, but I recently acquired this Nick Manabat Artifact Edition. Nick Manabat, for those who don't know, is an artist that was active in the 90s. He did mostly a book called Cybernary, which was a backup story in Deathblow. And unfortunately, long before he should have, he passed away of a horrible cancer, which is something that is a huge bummer. But some guys put together this book which showcases a lot of his black and white art, which has not really been available before. And his work is such a limited number of pages that there's just not a lot out there. But as you can see, this guy was an extremely talented artist. He was drawing these pages when he was in his 20s, and that just blows my mind. Really interesting style of hatching that he has. Just this great place between, beautiful chiaroscuro figures, but also like rough, almost like heavy metal or 2000 AD style work. Really cool, like cyborgs and stuff. Really happy I was able to get my hands on this through a Facebook group that put it together. And they are not for sale. They're just for fans and friends. And very cool stuff. So that's probably why I shouldn't show it, because nobody else can get it. But dang, it's cool. It is so cool. Let me pick out a couple. He was going to do some Wetworks stuff, which I love Wetworks. And some of these Wetworks drawings in here are so awesome. So awesome. Got Grail here doing his chi thing. You got Claymore, and that looks like Jester. It's really awesome stuff. So that's been very cool. Oh, Mark, you got one too. Awesome, dude. Stinker Buns, hello. Weed Priest comic. Yeah, Shatter versus Flower. Okay. Well, a good thing you mentioned the Weed Priest comic. Today, I'm going to be showing off some, let me get this focus. Okay, is that clear? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to show off some old comics today. I feel like something that gets lost, I think, in the translation between, the consumer and the maker is sort of the progression and the progress that hopefully happens with a lot of comic book makers. And I think when I was first starting out, and even now to this day, I still feel sort of, I don't know what the word is. Sometimes you get intimidated maybe, or you feel like you'll never get to a certain level. And it's good to look back on your old work because it number one, it shows you where you've come from. And so that makes you feel a sense of accomplishment. But also it gives you a sense of how much further you could potentially go. And I love seeing other artists work at various stages of their careers. And I love seeing an artist evolve throughout the course of one of their comics or something. So I'm going to show some stuff tonight that I've probably never showed on any of my streams. Some of it's out of print. I got a big old stack here of comics that I've done. So I've been making comics a long time, and to varying degrees of success. But we're going to check out a bunch of different things today. I got some mini comics that a lot of you have seen. But before I get into the stuff that I'm sure some people have seen, I'm going to show you some stuff that you probably haven't seen. So I'm going to start with some of my first comics I ever made, which is called Simon. So Simon is a character that I created when I was in college, and it's a character with no mouth. Let's find a good shot of him here. This is the collection I did of all my, originally these were all published as mini comics. This is the very first Simon comic I ever did. Let's see how that looks a little bit. Well, you can kind of see it there. I'm sorry guys, my lighting situation and camera situation are not great, but so Simon was the first character I ever did a comic of, and he's this mouthless character, and all the issues are generally silent. There are some words in some of them. Eli, yeah, long running manga. You'll see a lot of evolution there. So this is Simon. I started this character freshman year of college. So this is the freshman year comic that I made with Simon. You can see I have sort of word balloons, but they're just these kind of sound waves. I was playing a lot with paneling and sort of different things. You can kind of see there he's sort of got a, like he's telling his life story is the idea. This little dinosaur guy to Simon. Yeah, this stuff is kind of like I haven't really showed it around very much for a while. I haven't done a Simon comic in a long time. I used to do Simon comics pretty regularly. This one has some text in it, but I treated the text slightly different. So this kind of intellectual gentleman shows up, and it's kind of just, I pasted in stuff from dictionaries about roly-polies. And I don't know if I'll explain everything, but this nerd guy kind of just starts talking and talking and talking and turns into this wall of text. And then he's upset that Simon's not listening, and so he actually kind of pushes his word balloon out of the way here and squishes the poor little roly-poly. But yeah, these are some of my earliest comics. That was the first issue of Simon. Here's the second issue of Simon. This was the first comic I ever did offset printing. Back then at the school I was at, School of the Art Institute, we had an offset class, and the class, not only was it cool to have your stuff printed offset, but you actually got to work on the machines. And this was, we had Photoshop, but we were still photographing our work on a large format camera, developing those giant films. They were huge, like 18 by 24 films, and then burning those onto a plate with a plate burner. And then we would go through the whole process of picking our paper, our inks. So this was the first comic I ever offset printed. I mean, this is a reprint, but the original was offset printed. I don't have those pulled out right now. So you can kind of see like how my style has changed over the years, or things that have stayed the same. I think there's definitely aspects of my stuff that has stayed the same. I was really happy with that machine when I was first doing that. So this probably would have been sophomore year of college. And then here's the third Simon. This would have probably been sophomore, junior year. This one's about a guy who clones himself. So it's kind of this Doc Savage sort of a guy. Here's a little transformation scene. This stuff probably looks somewhat familiar to fans of my work, although hopefully I've gotten a little better. But yeah, I mean, looking back on this stuff, it's exciting to me, but it's sort of weird how much has changed since then. And then what's cool here is that when I got to this issue, I started playing around more with different tools and stuff. So this was one of my first times inking stuff with brushes and brush pens. And I was going for this sort of samurai style here on this one. But I guess I won't go through every single story, but I'll just kind of flip through here. You can see. Thanks, Eli. I'm glad you guys are liking Jeremy. Thank you, guys. I hope you're liking this. I wasn't sure if anyone would find it interesting. But I sure do. I was cleaning out my closet. Well, not cleaning out. I was looking for something in my closet, and I found a bunch of my old stuff in a box where I knew it was there, but I hadn't been looking for it. Oh, and here's one of my first big fight scenes. Kind of a big, giant, gory fight scene. Lots of blood splatters. I remember drawing this one in my dorm room. Just being like, there was ink all over the place. I got ink on everything. Here's one I did about questioning when life begins. Kind of a hot button thing. And then here's one that's just about paneling. Seeing the characters move through the space, interact with different pieces of the medium. I think my lines got a little cleaner over time. These ones would have been after college by the time I got to these ones, like probably pretty quick after college when I lived in Los Angeles. I was doing some of these. This one I did when I moved back from LA, I think. Man, I guess you two liked it. We've lost everyone else from the stream, so maybe nobody else, but that's okay. We're gonna keep rolling. I remember drawing this one and being really happy with how it turned out. I feel like I finally had started to master the brush. I mean, looking at it now, I know I haven't, but thinking back on how I felt when I was drawing it, I felt pretty confident in it. You can see that I've always been into drawing hands. These ones would have been, in my early 20s. I was working on these. Some of these are pretty cool, honestly. I wish what am I saying? I wish I should do a new Simon comic for sure. So these are actually, this is the first Simon comic cover right here. That was what the first issue looked like, and then this was on the back. These are some different Simon minis I did. I turned that into a t-shirt. Here's some pinups from my friends. My buddy John Wright did one. Who else is in here? Idris, my friend Idris Grant. And now Idris Lowe. Jinghuan Hu is a comic book artist from China. She did this drawing for me. My friend Jen Gillespie. Casey Green, my homie. Beth Hetland, I don't have it next to me. She just released a book via Fantagraphics called Tender. It's a horror, kind of a body horror comic. I really think you guys should check it out. Beth Hetland. Tender from Fantagraphics. Rinko Endo, Intense Detail. Reed Saltis, he's my friend who's a comic artist and natural history illustrator. So yeah, that's like my first comic series, Simon. I collected 10 years of it. Wow, 10 years of it here in this volume. Right after I moved to LA, I did a little book called, sorry, I'll check in with you guys here. Jeremy's here, that's right. Yeah, so this is a comic I did, would have been 2006, 7 maybe? And I never really released it. I just kind of self-published it and I pitched it. And it was originally going to be a little longer, but when nobody picked up the pitch, I didn't do it. So it's called Mighty. And I used to write my name as Tyrell Cannon, which is my middle name. And this one is based on the story of King David from the Bible. And I really dove into the sort of I took a lot of liberties with the looks of everything. I wanted it to look kind of otherworldly, not necessarily perfect to history of that time and place. Of course, who knows, right? But big battles, lots of gore, and it was a black and white with red was sort of the idea. And it's about King David and his mighty men, which you can read about in the Old Testament, and kind of the crazy things they say happen with them. And so I designed all these different battling characters. There's lots of naked people in this. And sort of about what their life was like. And they would murder thousands and thousands of people in battle. And I was just kind of interested in how that would affect them. And so, hey, there's Henry. And I would get really into these big battle scenes, which is funny because this was so long ago, and I am doing a new comic right now, Ares 3, that has same thing, just insane numbers of battle, humans fighting each other on every page. One thing I did here that I would like to do some more is on these pages with this character, Benaiah, or Benaiah, however you want to say it, I did all the panel borders by using a single line, right? So the single line creates the entire page's panel structure. And so, thanks, Eli. And so all the pages with Benaiah, it's a single line panel that creates it. You see? I thought that was pretty cool. And none of this stuff's available, right? I mean, some of the stuff I'll show later I have on my website, but a lot of this stuff is not available. So I hope people enjoy seeing it. Some of it I just have no reason to put it back in print. A lot of these things are available in my back catalog on my Patreon. So this is Mighty. And it's some cool stuff in it. I was going for sort of a very iconographic sort of look to the panel structures in a lot of the scenes. Really looking at a lot of Renaissance figurative work was always a big influence on me. Here's a little ladybug scene. For some reason, I've got little bugs and stuff popping up in my books. I don't know what that's about. So this is Mighty. I did, 66 pages here of Mighty. And never really found a home for it, but here it is. It's pretty fun. I did these decorative borders. Kind of cool. So there's another couple things from my past. As we commence here, you'll probably start to recognize some of these. So after I finished Mighty, the next thing I did is online, I was publishing a comic called Gary. And this is based on the story of the Green River Killer. I was releasing it online via like a blog, I think. And then I would print them up, and I did 3 issues. They were like 44 pages each, and then all 3 issues are collected here. And so this is based on the story of the Green River Killer, who was a serial killer, Gary Ridgway, that lived in the Pacific Northwest and murdered a whole lot of people. And this edition actually printed on kind of a newsprint, which I really like. But much, much, much different from the other stuff you guys might have seen me do. This is just all real world. It's all based on real facts about this serial killer's life and the things he did. And I took, what I would do is I would take, information I had about his life and then apply it to sort of maybe situations that I didn't have a specific reference for, but I would know, okay, he probably went to the grocery store, right? So I made a scene of him going to the grocery store, but the truck he's driving is the truck he drove. The clothes he's wearing are the kind of clothes he would wear, and his reactions to the situation are something I'd like to consider, fairly, interesting and accurate. One of the things I was trying to do with this book was jump around in time and space a lot, so that it was kind of like you were going through his memories. So there's a lot of repeated motifs, like triptychs, and a lot of repeated panel structures, so that certain memories would link to other memories as far as the panel layouts and the use of triptychs. And so each time I change scenes, there'll be a date and a place up at the top of the page. And so this is Gary, and it was quite the undertaking, honestly. I worked on this for a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years, trying to get the 44 pages done, because that's the other thing I'll mention. All of these books I've been showing you so far, I was working on while I had a day job. I had a day job all the way up until about 4 years ago. So this is stuff that I was all doing weekend warrior style. And I'm sure a lot of you folks out there that are comic makers or do things for passion on the side, you know how that is. It's a grind, man. And you just do your best to get through every day of work, and then you try to find that energy to come home and work on this stuff. And the tricky thing with Gary was that it's pretty dark subject matter, and I read the court cases, and I read the books by his lawyer. There's a book by his ex-wife, and I just really tried to dig into it and come to terms with what I thought about it. And I'm pretty happy with how the book turned out. This is one that I probably should get back in print. It's just so different from the kind of stuff I'm doing now. I'm always like, are people going to be interested in that? The other thing I'll mention looking at this, some of you might notice, is that I was using zip tones and screen tones all over this thing ages before these other people that say that they're all like, oh, I'm the first one to use screen tones or whatever. Don't be ridiculous. This book I was really going for kind of a black and white, gray noir look, but then with maybe a little bit of Charles Burns mixed in there. So there is graphic depictions of murders in here. There is also happy times from his life in here. So yeah, let's check in with you guys. Oh, cool, Jeremy, thank you. Eli, quit my job last year. Time to do yours. Getting close to the point where I'll get some stuff going. You know what? Hey, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations, and keep going. It's a grind even when you quit your job. And it's finding your way forward is sort of a constantly changing thing. That's a really nice drawing. I kind of like that drawing. It was, by the time I got done with this book, it was very emotionally and mentally taxing to be thinking about this kind of stuff all the time. And when I finally finished it, I kind of was like, I don't think I could ever make another serial killer book. And I had been talking to people at conventions about it because I was selling this and everything. And this is it. I like the paneling on this page too. That's a good scene. But yeah, so I don't know if I'll ever do another one. I've had some people ask for it. It's almost a completely different audience and a completely different mode of working. But this is Gary. I do think, if I don't already, I do think I have a digital version of this available. But if not, I need to put some of these up on the website. If anybody's interested, I'm happy to put some of these up for $1 or something on the website. So, but yeah, this is Gary. Just flip here to the end. I got some sketches in the back. This edition, this collected edition, I didn't do. I probably did under maybe 50 of these. And this is the only one I have left. So that's Gary. So after Gary, I was like, okay. I don't want to do anything that's set in the real world. I don't want to do anything that is super violent. And so I started my series Victus, which I don't have the first issue here. I've run out. So Victus was almost a completely different thing from Gary. Victus I did in this oversized kind of magazine format. And it's sort of I don't know how I call it kind of a sci-fi book, even though it doesn't have a lot of the trimmings people think of as sci-fi. It's not in space. There's not really robots or anything. It's in this sort of other time period. This was when I was really into, I've always been into Albrecht Dürer and some woodcuts, and I kind of wanted to make a comic that looked sort of like a woodcut, was sort of the original idea behind it as far as visuals go. And then I wanted it, like a lot of my work, to have to do with human communication, but via this sort of strange time frame. And then it's hard to tell on here, but I printed a lot of this on like a very toothy paper. And then on, let's see if I have any here, I bought a hand embosser, and I would do an embossed logo of my initials. Kind of hard to see, but it's right here. Is a hand embossed thing. So Victus, I did 4 issues. It was originally planned for 6, and the 5th one is mostly drawn, but I never printed it because, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So after Gary, I wanted to do this. And so this was the one I was doing when I felt like I was really cranking on this one. I was getting about an issue or 2 done every year for a couple of years there, and was having a lot of fun with it. But when I quit my job, actually, is when I sort of stepped away from this to work on Eris, because Victus is great and all, but I wanted to work on something that was maybe gonna lead to a little more of the kind of work that would maybe help me to not be completely broke all the time. so so I did Victus here for a few years, and it's pretty fun book. A lot of just kind of me going ham on the inks and doing a lot of hatching and stuff like that. Have a big this whole third issue is mostly a chase scene. I do kind of a family circus style chase here for a minute. And here's my Albrecht Dürer homage here. There's a pet rhino. So there's the third issue, and then issue 4 is this one, and this is one of the ones I was most happy with, kind of how it turned out. This one, some of these drawings in this issue I'm pretty happy with too. I still don't like how I draw certain things in here, but I think I really was finding a good sense of kind of value and stuff using hatching, and sort of making some strides in my use of solid blacks. Like these 2 pages are a great example. I was kind of able to add kind of a tone feeling over here, and then go to a more spotted black style here. And then later, as the book goes on, it gets pretty trippy, and I switch to sort of a this kind of crazy sort of clean line contour. I don't know what you'd call it, single line drawing where you don't pick up your pen when you're drawing. So like the idea with this one is that I drew most of this without picking up my pen. You just kind of go through the drawing, and it's an exercise you learn sort of in art school. Vincent Colburn, thank you for mentioning that this is good. So some of these Victus books are for sale on my website still, I think, and it gets pretty weird and trippy. And I should release issue 5. I just haven't yet. And then the next issue here, that the issue hasn't released, has this warthog and this bounty hunter guy. So those are Victus. And so I stopped doing Victus around the time I quit my job, and that's around the time I started Eris, which there's 2 issues out so far. I'm working on the 3rd issue, and it will all be collected soon, and when I finish issue 3. So Eris is also sci-fi, but much more of a far future kind of sci-fi, about these this team of superpowered kind of bad guys that work for the Earth government that are trying to. And isn't that and the colors are, I like that. That work for sort of the people who run Earth. And so I started releasing this online when I first did it, and when I finally did the Kickstarter for this, I remixed the colors. So the original pages look slightly different from this. I think I learned more about coloring at some point and sort of remixed it. This was sort of the first sort of image I had in my head of this, was this sort of freeze frame showing the intensity of these warriors. And this was the first time I was working in color, really. I mean, I'd done color stuff before, but Eris is the first time I was doing a sequential, like in full color, really. And it was a huge learning curve for me. So, another thing I think about a lot is, when you work on a project, or as you continue to go through projects, you try new things, and you're kind of like, you feel pretty confident when you get really good at one thing, and then if you throw another thing in the mix, it kind of takes you down a peg and makes you realize, okay, I got to keep working, I got to keep learning. And the other thing I'm noticing is I forgot how much I changed some of the character designs a little bit as this book has gone on. That's kind of something that happens in every comic, but as the book has gone on, certain little touches to the characters have changed. Still violent from the beginning, lots of heads getting punched off. So there's issue 1 of Eris that my brother co-writes with me, Logan. And then here's issue 2. And this one came out maybe a year after the first one I did the Kickstarter, or 2 years, because between issue 1 and 2, I ended up doing astrobiology. So maybe I should show that in order. So I did this book, Astrobiology. Brunson, hello. Jeremy, yes. Eli, lifelong journey, no joke, dude. I my goal is always to be a lifelong student of this medium, and if I can make money at it, even better. But anyway, I did this book Astrobiology with Seth Jacob. Some of you guys might have known Seth Jacob. He's around. He's doing some cool stuff. He just did a book called what is it called? Oh geez, why am I spacing on it right now? He just did a Western with Daniel, who colored this book. But Seth approached me and said he wanted to do this sci-fi comic about kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of figure who searched around the universe for different organisms. And he teams up with this military figure, this female military figure who's kind of his bodyguard helper, and she has these robot arms attached to her. So this one was really cool. Seth had a lot of really cool big sci-fi ideas, and this was my first time doing sort of a paid gig after I quit my job. I mean, I had some smaller gigs, but this is my first time doing like a full comic. And I think we did like 40 something pages on this. And it was my first time working with a different colorist, really. And so I had a lot to learn when I did this. You know, there's some cool stuff in here. Daniel really crushed it on the colors up here. And man, he's gotten a lot better too since this. But man, I changed so much of my process during the time I was drawing this. You know, you just, when you're doing it every day, and you're working from a script and you're working with a deadline and all these different things, you really start to hone in on what's going to work and what's not going to work. So this was one of the first times I started using digital tools for laying out the book. You know, I was doing them on the iPad. And it was the first time I kind of made some templates. I had different templates with different panel dividers on it. So I would have like a 9-panel grid, a 4-panel grid, a 6-panel grid. And that way, if I wanted to use one of those grids, I could just pop it in. And that made it really kind of faster in some ways. Some of these colors aren't reading great on the camera, sorry. But it was really fun. I love these characters. I've told Seth, like I've done a couple other things with Seth, just pitches and stuff. And I really like these characters. These characters are really fun. I still did a lot of cool action stuff in here. Seth did a really cool kind of writing of the dynamic between the two characters. This was a really fun project, and we kickstarted this one as well. And it was really fun. Had a really good time with this one. Except one of the Kickstarter rewards was drawing people into the comic. And I vowed to never do that again. It was fine. It turned out fine. But all these people here are backers that we had to work into the comic. And I tell you what, I don't like to do that. I feel like I'm not drawing them good enough, you know? So this was Astrobiology. And it was really fun. And so then after that, sometime is when I was working on Eris 2, I believe. I might have even done Beef Bros 1. No, I might have. But we'll go ahead and look at Eris 2. Eris 2 is sort of, in my opinion, one of the better things I've done in my career as far as like me drawing it, coloring it, and writing it myself. It feels very complete and very, you know, I don't know. I'm really happy with this one. This one is going to be part of the collection that's coming out, but the single is available now. The singles will never be reprinted, by the way. But it's very violent, lots of action. These are things that attract me. But then I also try to do a lot more world building in the second issue and show different, you know, different cultures that they interact with. Man, my paneling back at this point in time was so different. Man, I like this paneling, though. Lots of cool characters. Pretty chaffed with how I turned out some of these fight scenes, for sure. It's sort of, a lot of the stuff I'm doing here feels like the basis of a lot of the things I was able to do in Beef Bros and then into the Schlub. So there's Eris. So before I jump into Beef Bros, I'll mention something else that I forgot to mention. So another project I did, there's so many things I don't have here on the table, but another one that I did was this series called Speculative Relationships. So Speculative Relationships was a project I did with my friend Scott Kroll, and we basically wanted to do a science fiction romance comics anthology because we didn't think that there had been one, and I don't think there had been. There's been quite a few since then, and the people might not admit that they took the idea from me, but yeah. Me and Scott decided we were going to get some of our favorite artists together and make Speculative Relationships. Now, volumes 2 and 3 are still available on my website. Volume 1 is, I've only got like 2 paper copies left. But a lot of people might find it interesting because Speculative Relationships Volume 1 is the very first time Mr. Daniel Warren Johnson, who some of you might be just backing his Kickstarter today for the Extremity thing. This is the first book that he ever had stuff printed in, as far as I know. This was the first time he was in print, was in Speculative Relationships. But we also had me, my friend Rinko Endo, Scott Kroll, Michael Manamivable, who's an incredible illustrator that did the cover, and my dear friend Isabella Rotman in this first issue. So Mike Manamivable is an incredible illustrator that used to do some covers and cool diver illustrations and lots of other things. I did some covers for Valiant. So in here, I did 2 stories. One is called The Burning Heart, and it's sort of a throwback to Wally Wood style science fiction stuff. This would have been before I did Eris. Scott did a couple. He did one about a mech pilot. These are big books, Jeremy. Yeah. This is Rinko Endo's story. It's pretty insane. I might have showed this on a past stream. Here is Dan's story. It's called The Purest Form. It's about a cyborg, a fighting cyborg driven by love. And that's very on brand for Dan. But you can see some pretty early touch points for his work here. Pretty neat comic. I wish I had snagged one of these pages back then. Also funny that Dan would probably not say this because he's so nice, but this is the first time he was in print, and I forgot to put one of the pages of the story in. This is the cover part, and then there was supposed to be another page here. It's mostly black, but I did forget a page. That was really embarrassing. And then here's Izzy's. It's about a AI program that's sort of falling in love with a person in cryosleep. Very cool story. Izzy's amazing. She did my wedding invitations. She's very close to me, very good friend. And then Scott Kroll did another one here that I love that's about a species that needs 5 partners to mate. And so it's about the search of 4 for another 5th and a search of a 5th for 4. And then I did another one here called Corridor C, which is about 2 repair people on 2 sides of a big giant spaceship, and the spaceship explodes, and they're both spinning out into space. You know, eventually they'll die, but they're spinning out into space, and they find each other on radio contact and realize they've walked by each other every day for years, and they kind of fall in love in their dying moments. So that's volume 1. It did really well for us, and so we did another volume, well, 2 more volumes. Second volume has a Sandra Lands cover. She did some stuff for Profit. It is also stacked. We got a lot of us back. You know, we got me, we got Liam Cobb, Ezra Clayton Daniels, who actually is doing the new, Ezra is doing the new People Under the Stairs movie. He's writing it. And he did a book with Ben Passmore called Bottom Feeders. Him and Ben have a story in here. Max Dowdle, Rich Foster, Danny Warren Johnson's back again. I'll show you his. Beck Kramer, good friend from college. Scott Kroll, Amara Leipzig, Mike Mano, Isabel Rotman's back, M.R. Trower, the famous ink maggot, Kat Verhoeven, and Grim Wilkins. Grim Wilkins, you guys might know from his book Miranda, which came out through Image, and he also did some stuff on Profit. These are still for sale if anyone's interested. I believe they're on my website right now. But this one, we went all out. We took submissions for this one, and we got a lot of new people that I didn't know before. You can see Grim Wilkins' kind of signature ink wash style here. I have a page from this. It's pretty rad. Here's Amara Leipzig's Kestrel, which is sort of about 2 different species, a native species and a foreign species meeting on a planet. Comfort Bot by Beck Kramer. It's a very Twilight Zone kind of a episode. Fingers. There's so many. Here's Max's. He painted his story. Let's find. Here's Dan's. He did a 2-page story. This is Dan's most erotic work. It's about sex. I really like this piece. I don't know if he still has these pages. I would love to grab them because it's just 2 pages. I have a feeling he doesn't have them. M.R. Trower here. And here's mine. It was Amplifier. This one was about a guy. In the future, there's people who build speakers and amps into their bodies and other people who build their musical instruments into their bodies. And so this person can play her arm, and she plugs into the guy who's a speaker. And so these guys kind of fall in love with each other. And so the book starts, you're going forward in time with the guy, and then you get to the center of their performance, and then it goes backward in time from the female person's perspective with timestamps at the bottom. Again, another cool concept. You know, my drawings still had a lot to grow from then, but pretty cool concept. Here's Mike Mano's story. This one's pretty rad. Here's the Ben Passmore, Ezra Clayton Daniels story. It's pretty cool. And then here's Liam Cobb. He just had a collection of his work come out from Breakdown Press. Liam Cobb is an incredible illustrator. He's worked on shows like Midnight Pulp, not Midnight Pulp. What's it called? The one that Duncan Trussell animated show. He worked on that and some other stuff. But this one's about spores that infect people. What else is in here? Oh, here's Rich Foster. I don't know what happened to Rich Foster. If anybody knows, tell me, because Rich Foster makes incredible work. I found his work and I was just blown away. But I don't know where he is now. I don't know what he's doing. And then Scott Kroll and I collaborated on this story where we both drew parts of these pages of a robot fighting a monster in space and two mech pilots falling in love. And then, of course, we had Isabella Rotman back again. So, yeah, this one's got a lot of heat in it. And then issue 3 of that, we had another illustrator I know, Jose Moreno, do this cover, and he really nailed it too. It's a very cool cover. This one is also stacked, man. We got Alchemichael, M.L. McDonald. You guys might know him online. Amara Leipzig again. Andrew Masisko, Barrett Stanley, Beck Kramer, Jacob Bovet, and Amanda Johnson, who's also awesome. John Vestovich, who's incredible. Kawai Shen, incredible. Kitty Curran, who did the Nancy Drew style Taylor Swift books that a lot of people have seen. My friend Landis Blair, my buddy, I guess I can't say his real name, Meaty Comics. M.R. Trower's back. Matthew Sargent. The Dowdles are back. Roxanne Palmer, Will Tempest. And this was the final volume. And here's Barrett Stanley. I'm really happy with how this one printed. We got this offset printed. We got Andrew. Here's Will Tempest. Will Tempest is amazing if you guys don't follow him. He does a comic called Harsh Prospect online. And his stuff is incredible. Just amazing. It's kind of sci-fi illustration type stuff. Really clean lines. He's British. Here's the Dowdles story. Here's Landis's story. It's about a giant toaster that's supposed to spice up their love life. That's Landis for you. Here's Kawai Shen's. Very delicate. Yes, Jeremy, these are all, well, most of the books I'm showing are available. Some of the older ones, like Simon and Mighty, are not. But you can get Spectral Relationships right now on my website. And if anybody orders any of these older books, I'll probably mark them down at some point. But if you order them now, like you folks on the stream, and just put a note that you were watching the live stream, I'll throw in a couple extra goodies for you. Just because I haven't had a chance to adjust them. Oh, man. And then here's John Vestovich's story. Oh, man. Look at that. John just came back with basically an awesome Junji Ito manga for us. And it's so rad. John does really great stuff. Here's Cats. Here's Amara's new one. This one's about the trust band, which is like a thing you wear that keeps you linked to your partner at all times. And these are all based on real interviews of people. It's pretty interesting. Here's Matthew Sargent's. It's a time travel story. Beck Kramer. Here's Fingers. Here's another mech one by Jacob. Here's Alchemichael. This one's pretty good. And here's the one by Meaty Comics. I did a pitch with this guy. He's really good. This one's about a person who falls in love with a sentient washing machine. These are wild stories, man. M.R. Trower back. This one's so good. Man, there's some good stuff in this book. Really good stuff. Here's a pinup I did. So these were a lot of fun. Really cool. Okay, I'll show you guys a few more. I'll go ahead and jump into some of these minis that I did. So you guys have probably seen these. I got IDFK, I got Weed Priest. Here's the original printing of Weed Priest, which I don't have anymore, but these are offset printed in green and purple ink with green staples by the wonderful people at Perfectly Acceptable Press. The original version of Weed Priest had a story by me, and then a story by my friend Aaron Pittman, and then another pinup by J.B. Rowe. You guys might know from Gutter Boys. Aaron hasn't been making much lately, but the book is based on a song by the band Sleep called Dope Smoker. And then a few years later, I did a sort of a spiritual sequel called Ascend. And both of these are on my website. The Weed Priest is a different version than this, and this is kind of me showing my love for ancient aliens and like conspiracy theory stuff and that kind of thing. Totally silent. I did this as an Inktober one year. And then these are all Inktober comics except for this one. So these are all Inktober comics right here. This was another one I did the year I quit my job. I'll try not to bring it down too much, but if you guys haven't checked this one out, this book is very special to me. I did this in 2018, I believe. This is based on my real life. This is one of the few autobio books I've done, and this is about what happened to my family when I was a kid. My dad was in a pretty horrible motorcycle accident. And so this book is just me sort of dealing with that through memories that we had, but then I show the motorcycle crash in slow motion as it unfolds. And this one was also risograph printed. This is a special book for me. It was really hard to make because I hadn't done something so personal for a while, forever really. So this one's just, I think it's just called Inktober 2018 on my website because I don't have a title for it. But that's a very personal work for me right there. And then I got a little less personal, and I did a Doom fan comic, which I've showed on here before, so I won't go super into this one. But this one actually was made because I had done a big Doom print, and it was pretty popular. I did a couple Doom prints. They're up on my website for sale as well, actually. And I got somebody bought some of them, and the guy got in touch with me. He said, "Hey, I'm John. I work on the Doom games, and we love your work. We put it up in the office." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool! I am so excited." And I was like, "Hey man, if you guys are ever working on a new Doom game, let me know." And because I did those posters around the time that Doom 2016 was coming out, and then lo and behold, a few years later, they did get in touch with me, and they said, "We're making Doom Eternal," and what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. Thomas, the guy running the show there, wanted me to work on some stuff for Doom Eternal, and for a lot of reasons, it never came to fruition. Not the least of which being, I think, some drama at id, which probably people have heard about now, and some drama with hiring people outside. But I actually had a contract and everything, and it fell through. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say any of that, but who fucking cares, right? At this point, pardon my French. And so I did this book as kind of like, you know what? If you're not going to put me on the game, I'm just going to make my own Doom comic. And so I did. And you know what? It's been very good for me. And thanks to John Lane from id, he's not there anymore, but he's an incredible artist, and he's the one who followed my work and hooked me up. And then I did Game Over Man, which is my love letter to Hudson from Aliens. And a lot of you guys have seen this as well. These are available on the website too. Somewhere in the middle of all that, I did 2 stories from my friend Matt Mayer Lowry. He's a great science fiction writer, and he did these anthologies of his own of sci-fi comics. And I am in volumes 1 and 2 of these. I might have these on my website, but if I don't, Matt sells them on his website, and you should totally pick them up from Matt. But the story I did first is actually the one that ends up in volume 2. So he hired me to do this short story called Drones, which is here, and it's a black and white story about a drone pilot and sort of his descent into madness. And I remember doing this one vividly because I did this when I had no time and energy. We had just had our baby, my baby Quinn. She's just turning 4 now, but at the time she was a newborn when I was doing this, and I just had I have no idea how I got this done. It's a fever dream, but it kind of reads like a fever dream, and I think it totally works. And so I did this one first, but then Matt liked it a lot, and he's like, well, let's do another one where it has more action, because he wanted to see me draw action, because he knows that's something I like to do. And so then I did this one here, which is called Spy Without a Face, and it's much more of a big action fight scene, and he really liked the way this one fit better in the first anthology, so he decided to put it in the first anthology and then use drones in the second anthology. And I had a lot of fun with this. Matt's a great writer. He was very cool. He kind of wrote this for me, and so that was really fun. I have some of these original pages still available, so check out Thoughtscape if you haven't. And then somewhere in the middle of all that, I also met this guy, Grim Wilkins, who actually Grim Wilkins, who is in Speculative Relationships, is someone I've known in comics for a long time. I met him at the first show I ever did. He introduced me online to a guy named Aubrey Sitterson that some of you guys might have heard of. Aubrey's a writer who's written a lot of comics and done some wrestling stuff. And he is a wild man. And he had a lot of energy, and he really wanted to work together. And we really started to kind of jive with each other. And we sort of came up with this Beef Bros idea. And we did Beef Bros, man. And that's, I think, how a lot of people that might be fans of me now maybe first saw some of my work. It was one of my more larger sort of publicly facing projects. You know, we did a really cool Kickstarter. This was colored by Fico Ocio and Raciel Avila and lettered by Taylor Esposito. And this was another situation where I was just sort of trying to figure out how to work in this kind of system of like, you know, writer, colorist, you know, letterer, you know, and I'm really proud of the work we did on Beef Bros. And the first issue did really well for us. It's about these two bodybuilders, and they sort of help people from a place of you know, goodness and love, but they're also very goofy and they love pancakes. So, and actually, there's my baby Quinn, and there's my wife. So this one was really fun, and so Aubrey was like, "Yo, let's do another one." And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. So we did Beef Bros Behind Bars, which is the second one. And a lot of you guys might have probably seen this as well, so I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. But Beef Bros Behind Bars, the Beef Bros get sent to jail. And jail is sort of like it's like a Disneyland kind of a situation. And this was a really fun thing to kind of design. The Beef Bros are a lot of fun to draw, big muscles. This book is real wild, man. Like, the colors are wild. The art I did is just out of control. Aubrey's writing is crazy. I had a really good time working on this, and really happy with the results we got. I was talking about this the other day, so maybe I should point it out. I swiped Dan in this, actually. Everybody swipes. It just depends on how you do it, whether it's bad or good. But I swiped Dan because I didn't know how to draw a wrestling ring, and I really didn't want to figure it out. And so right here, this is from one of Dan's comics with a wrestling ring. I just swiped that right off of him. I changed a bunch. I added other things and everything, but I didn't know what a wrestling ring really looked like. I could look up photo reference and stuff, but then to get that in space with the kind of thing you want, I'm really happy with this weightlifting scene too. It really makes me laugh every time. So this one was really fun. I got some 2-page spreads in here. I think a lot of you folks have probably seen this one. So that is Beef Bros Behind Bars. So, you know what? That was kind of just something I wanted to do. I wanted to run through some of my older stuff and just kind of mention it. And, you know, I've been reflecting a lot on just the journey, right, of making comics. And it's hard and it's frustrating and it seems impossible sometimes. And so it's good for me to remind myself sometimes of where I've been and where I'm going. And put a little bit more hope in there. So thanks, guys, for watching that. I'm going to ink this Spider-Man now, and I have no idea if it's going to go well. I drew it in about 10 minutes. Thank you, Jeremy. And so I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but just like always, we're going to see. We're going to find out together. What's this going to look like? And probably not going to spend tons of time on it because this is a fun one for me. I've been really neck deep in Eris 3, big battles, and so I'm ready to kind of goof off with something here for a minute, and so we're going to work on this for a little bit, and I would love it if folks want to stick around if you have questions about any of the work that I was showing off. The other thing I wanted to mention before I start inking this is that a couple things. Number one, if you're here watching, can you just scroll up a little bit, hit that like button for me? That would be really awesome if you could do that. Maybe leave a fun comment that's nice, you know, something like that. That stuff really helps the engagement, and that will help me in the long run to make more comics. And subscribe if you would like. That would be really great too. The other thing you can do is you can go buy Tender by Beth Hetland. That just came out from Fantagraphics. And, you know, if you like Daniel Warren Johnson's work, he does have a Kickstarter going right now for the Extremity Artist Edition. And let me tell you, I own one of those pages, and they are absolutely gorgeous. And the chances of any of us buying a Daniel Warren Johnson page anytime soon is probably pretty slim because they go for a lot of money. So the next best thing will be this beautiful hardcover. I did some fan art for it. It's on my Instagram and my Twitter right now. Please go check it out. And I feel like I'm forgetting something else you should check out, but, you know, check it all out. We'll get started on this inks in just 1 second. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing sort of some of the older stuff. If you did, I can maybe break out even some of the individually printed Simon comics that I would do myself at Kinko's. Back before it was FedEx Kinko's. Dude, we would take over the Kinko's when I was in college. It would be like 10 of us in there printing up our comics, stapling all that. Oh, right. You know what? Eli just reminded me. The other thing that you guys should go do is pre-order the Schlub trade paperback. It is available pretty much everywhere. So if you live in the middle of nowhere, like a lot of my family and friends, you can get it at Walmart. You can get it at Target. You can get it from Amazon. And it collects the entire series. There'll probably be a couple extra things in there. And I really want everyone to check out the book. I think it was hard for people to get it in singles. And I think that you just want to get the collected version and then you'll have it. And then, of course, the X-Men Inktober is out too. Jeremy, thank you for mentioning that. And the X-Men Inktober's are for sale right now. If you get them from the website, awesome. If you're coming to C2E2 and you want to buy it there, I will do a little sketch in there for you. Just tell me that you watched the live screen. Show me that you've subscribed, and I'll draw in there for you. I mean, I'm not going to do a commission, but I'll draw something for you in there. All right, folks. We're going to get in the groove here. And we are going to have some fun. We're just going to goof off. Because what I've been working on with Eris has been really fun, but very taxing and very like tedious, small details. So we're going to try to loosen up. Loosen up. And we're going to just see if we can do a quick Spider-Man here without stressing too much about it. How's all y'all guys been doing? What have you been reading? What have you been watching? Who saw Dune 2? How awesome was it? I saw it. It was awesome. Can't wait to see it again. All right. Yeah, Jeremy, it is hard to get them. So buy that trade, man. And the trade really does a lot for me too. If that sells well, that will really help me out. Oh yeah, Eli ordered an X-Men, huh? Okay, cool. I think did I send it out? For some reason your name's on it. Maybe you have a different name in your shipping, which you do not have to share here. That is fine. All right, so this is just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, right? And I kind of want to find some good shapes in here. I'm sure I'll botch it at some point, but we're going to start with some big, simple lines. Mr. and Mrs. Smith series, okay. My wife was watching that. I saw a little bit of it. I like the actress. I really liked her in, isn't she from Pen 15? That show was really cool. I'm kind of mixed on Donald Glover, but the show looked all right. I mean, my wife was enjoying it. It wasn't that I didn't want to watch it. I just was like, hey, you can watch that, but I really want to play Dead Space right now. So I just beat the Dead Space remake, which took me a while because I have no time. And I immediately fired up Dead Space 2, which is one of my all-time favorite games. I'm going to spin this around for this hand here. And you know what else you guys can do if you're ordering the Schlub? You can order a second copy for a friend, or you can just tell your friends about it. I think it's the kind of comic that I think anybody should be able to enjoy. Whether you read comics or not, it's pretty accessible. I think Ryan and Kenny did a good job of making characters that feel, within the zeitgeist of what's comedy right now. Guys, I'm going to really try to make myself stay simple here. Okay, so try to hold me to that. I'm going to try to not overdo it on this. Oh, you saw it in IMAX, Eli? I really want to see Dune in IMAX because I just saw it in a regular theater. But Eli is your middle name. Okay, okay. Darn it, I should have. Darn it. I should have sent you something extra in there, man. Pretty easy to watch. Yeah, good one to watch with the wife. Yeah. Yeah. I have shows like that too. I'm like, this is a show I'll watch, and here's one I'll watch with her because we do have some crossover in our taste. Like, we both like Dune a lot. We saw it together. But, you know, when I start to turn on a lot of horror stuff or like kung fu stuff, I kind of lose her. She's not really into that kind of stuff. You know, she'll watch some John Wick with me or whatever, but she's not going to sit down and watch all of the One-Armed Swordsman movies with me. You know. But see, I love that stuff. Yeah, the Dune stuff is just so well put together. The sound design, the costumes, man. I love the costumes in both of those. I was really blown away at how fresh it felt. It still felt like a lot of the classic things from Dune, but it definitely felt like a fresh interpretation, and I feel like that's so hard to do. One day I'll see Dune too. Thanks, Eli. I'll throw some extra stuff in there for you, buddy. Just like I said, throw a note in there. I like the folks that want to, you know, check out the, you know, the streams too. So, okay, okay. Vincent Colburn, can't wait to see Dune 2. Yeah. And thanks, Eli, for the order. Yeah, Dune was just so amazing, the whole world. Yeah, I like a lot about the Lynch one. I mean, I love Lynch as a director, you know, in general. And there's some really cool stuff in his Dune, but it just totally falls apart at the end. It just like, you know, after about 45 minutes, the whole movie just kind of collapses in on itself. And they're like, oh, cripes, we got to actually finish this story in one movie. What are we going to do? But man, it has some cool looking designs and some really cool character moments and stuff, and great actors. I love Kyle MacLachlan and all those folks. What do you think, guys? Do you think I should draw a Spider-Man comic? None of you happen to work for Marvel, do you? You know, that probably was too much right there. But we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it. All right. Yeah, you guys get it. You guys get it. Who's everybody's favorite Spidey artist? All right, we're gonna give him some web action here. Oh, a little too high there too. We'll figure that out too. We'll figure it out. It'll all come out in the wash here. All right. So with this background, I think I know what I want, but I'm not sure. So we're gonna, I think, figure the figure out, and then we'll jump back to the background. So we're gonna let this dry for a second here. My pen is very wet today. Spider-Man Vulture team up comic. Okay. Spider-Man vs. Carnage. I would love to do a Spider-Man vs. Carnage. Absolutely. Mark Bagley, man. Mark Bagley, huh? Ramita's great. Bagley, I was just talking about him the other day. I kind of have a soft spot for Bagley. I grew up around that time he was working on a lot of that stuff. And the first time I remember getting one of his books that I was like, oh, this looks really cool, was that Venom Lethal Protector series that he did. That was a really neat looking, book. And I think his stuff works well when there's a little bit of humor involved, or like, that one kind of had a dark humor to it, and the expressiveness of his figure work is pretty good on that. Steve Scrose. Yeah, man. Steve Scrose. He's real good. I don't have any of his Spider-Man stuff, though. Like, I don't know which ones I should have, honestly. I mean, I'm sure I've seen some of that. I do have some Scrose stuff. I was just showing some off last week. That Wolverine Blood Debts. Or Blood Debts? I don't know how you're supposed to say it. One of my favorite bad movies is called Blood Debts. It's like the webbing sometimes is like a little bit of a trip to me. It's like I don't always like drawing it. So I'm like trying to find a happy medium for me, myself here. It's not that I don't like drawing it. It's just like the shape of the reds and stuff are so nice that sometimes I don't like how much the webbing slows the figure down, because as you can tell, I kind of like them to look a little fast, But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Like I said, we're just having fun here. This is kind of an experiment, so no pressure. No pressure. Okay, I can already feel myself going too far. So I'm going to grab a Kleenex so I can dab this and then erase it. Ugh. Trick I saw, who was it? Maybe it was Ralph Meyer or somebody. I can't remember who it was. They just, it might have been Jimenez. But anyway, they were just saying how they hated waiting for things to dry, and I thought that they were going to say that and then be like, so what I do is I take a break or whatever. But he's like, no, I just dab it dry. Obviously you got to be careful if there's a big blob or something, and then you can usually erase it without quite as many mistakes popping up as far as like the thing. And so if it comes up and there's barely any ink coming off, that's also a good sign that you're probably ready to go. You just got to lay it down really flat and not rub it around, and just kind of press it. And I'm very impatient, so I'm doing that quite a bit. Maximum Carnage. Eris 1 and 2, thanks. Thanks, Vincent. Yes, the digital version. Sorry, My store kind of sorts in a weird way, but if you go to comics, it's usually a little easier to see where just the comics are. There is like a tab that lets you do that, but I need to do some work on the store probably. You know, I admit that. I admit that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It probably needs a little bit of an overhaul, but unfortunately, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. See, here I did. I went too fast. I smeared a couple spots. That's okay. That's okay. It's not gonna make the piece bad. It just adds a little character. The kind of thing that you can only see when you're looking at an original, right? That's what's cool about owning original art, is you can just sort of see these moments that we have here on the streams. You know, you can see them on the paper. You can see the mistakes. You can see where the ink blobbed up, but then you can also just see still how the piece can still work. You know, it's really fun. I love having originals. I might even use some gray tone on this now that I'm looking at it. Maybe we can do something fun with a gray. What do I got for reds down here? Speed smears. Yeah, there you go, man. I like that. I think all I have for reds are Posca pens, so those are not going to work. And I'm not going to break out my red ink right now, because I don't want to be in here all night. I got to go play Dead Space 2. So, yeah, see? I rubbed that up. Got ahead of myself. All right. Let's sharpen up a couple of these. I got my Zebra Fine Point. One of my go-to pens right here. Spider-Man is fun. I think that I enjoy drawing him. I think if I was going to draw him on the comic, like for real, I would push something a little further to kind of come up with my own little stamp for him. You know, how every kind of Spider-Man artist kind of has their little stamp. Add something to the zeitgeist, maybe. Because right now, I just kind of draw him however I'm feeling on a given day. I don't really have a Spider-Man look that I always do. I mean, other than him being maybe thinner than other characters that I draw, and being, you know, more contorted and stuff. But that's not really my thing. I mean, a lot of other artists have done that, so that's just a thing, I guess. Thanks again, Vincent. I'll be looking for these orders, guys. Try to get them out this week. Oh, cool. Eli went to Emerald City Comic Con. You met Ryan Benjamin. Oh, man. Yeah, he's real good. I loved his stuff for ages. Oh, gross. Okay. Amazing Spider-Man 400s. Okay. That's cool, man. You know who I really like on Spider-Man is Pacello. Man, I really liked Nonstop Spider-Man, like at least visually. I loved it. I need to fill in. I'm missing like 2 issues of that, and man, that was a cool series. I was reading that a lot when I was working on the Schlub, and I feel like a lot of stuff he was doing in there were kind of seeping into what I was trying to do. And, you know, not in like I didn't really copy anything. It was just more like this energy he brought to it. It was really, really great. It's a cool arm. Let's try to not ruin that. So next time I stream, I'll probably want to show off some other stuff. You know, I like to show books and talk about them. It helps me kind of get inspired to draw, right? So why not do it on the stream? Because I'm doing it anyway. But yeah, I was kind of wondering, maybe I'm not sure if I should dig out more of my really indie stuff, like self-published things. I've got a lot of that. Or if you guys would be more interested in talking about like like maybe something like Wetworks or something from the 90s that's like Image, but not quite, top tier, well known at least. Those were a couple of things I was thinking about. I mean, I'll do all of it eventually. It's just a matter of what I do next time. Because I really want to show off more of the indie stuff that I have. That stuff is so cool and unique and inspiring, and really where I go when I'm feeling uninspired with comics, I go to that stuff as sort of a... I'm not liking this pen right now. What is he doing? Kind of bleeding a little bit. Let's see if I can get him back. Alright, whatever. We'll go with that. See, so I don't want to over-render that. I guess I need to do a little bit of webbing. We'll do a little bit of webbing. This pen, no. What is he doing? You go away now. I'll do it. I'll just do a micron on this. That guy's bothering me. He's making me angry. I think that's right. I think I prefer the lines to not even look as webby, Just something more like simple. I don't know exactly how to... Something like that, maybe. Let's try that. Where it's very minimal. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'm also sometimes when I'm working on a character like this, I'll think, like now that I've drawn comics a little longer and done like, a run like I did on the Schlub, I'm like, maybe I should, like when I'm drawing it, I'll be thinking, what would it be like to draw it like this, for 20 pages every month. So sometimes now I'm a little more tactical. I try to be a little more tactical, and it's not like I don't want it to look still as very, I still want it to look, like I spent time on it, but I want that efficiency to be there so that you can find, find your groove, and not constantly be figuring it out. So when I'm working on these webs right now, I'm just thinking like, well, if I was going to draw Spider-Man every month, like how would I want to draw his webs, What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that how it goes? All right. Let's get this backhand over here. Okay, now we got to make some tough choices on where we're going to use our black. Or do I do that with gray and then do the rest with black? Black. Where do we put the black? So Eris will be, it was originally going to be 3 separate issues, but, well, it wasn't originally. It was always supposed to be one story. I broke it up into issues so that I could publish it without it taking forever. So the way it's supposed to be is one book, which is what the next Kickstarter will be. So the third issue, or third chapter, I should say, is the end. It's longer than the first two issues. The first two issues are about 32 pages, and this last chapter will be more than 32 pages. I'm not sure the exact count because I'm still fudging with the ending, but it will be probably closer to 40 something pages. And so the collected version will have all of that, and then I'll probably try to work in some additional material. What I would really like to do is kind of like a source book with the different characters and their descriptions and backgrounds, and have some friends do some art for it. So we'll see what I end up doing as far as that goes. But yeah, the whole collection will be well over 100 pages, I would imagine. Well, not well over, but around 100 pages with the extra material. Yeah, nonstop Spider-Man. That's right, Jeremy. I didn't make it to Emerald City this year. I would really like to go again. I've done that show 3 times, and I really like Seattle, and it's near where my brother lives. So when I go, it's always a fun trip. But it's a very expensive show and a very expensive flight to get there. So yeah, I just don't know when I'll do it next. I mean, maybe next year would be good. If I do like maybe one less show and I do that show as like an additional show, that would probably work. Okay, so I'm thinking, guys, we will do big black areas here, and here, and here, I think. And why don't we go ahead and do there, and here, here, and I do like those lines right there. But that would probably be the best place to put that black. So, oh, and we need to do it here and here. We're gonna do it. We're to lose those lines. They're not that important. Ah, Seattle. You're an Eli. You're a Seattle guy. That's cool, man. That's cool. It is a fun town. Good spot. I will be at C2E2 this year, and we are going to have a Schlub panel at the show. So if you guys are going to come to that show, definitely come check out the Schlub panel. I don't have all the details yet. That'll be fun. Me and Ryan and Kenny will all be there. The whole team. Probably the first time we've been in the room since we started working on the Schlub, all in the same room together. Because I haven't seen Ryan in a minute. Or Kenny, for that matter, now that I think about it. Last time I saw them was C2E2 last year. I saw Kenny, but not Ryan. And then I'm hoping to be at Heroes this year. I just don't have that 100% locked in yet, so I don't want to say I'll be there because I don't, who knows? The gods might not love me. We'll see. But I should know that soon. Big old Kirby knee here. My dog is named Kirby, after Jack Kirby. Most people hear that though when they think of the video game character, which kind of makes me sad. I mean, nothing against Kirby the video game character, but I'm like, they should be thinking of Jack Kirby. Well, you know, that kind of works, but yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, that's looking all right. It's looking all right. Let's just be brave on the arm, and then we'll be seeing what our next step is. Yeah, cool. All right. Oh, Jeremy, you'll be at Heroes. That'd be awesome, man. Heroes is so much fun. I went for the first time last year, and oh my gosh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was absolutely the kind of show I like to be at, and so I really hope to be there again, so I can, talk to folks and hang out, and it's just a very inspiring show to be at. I just was feeling a little bit of feathering here. Maybe it's my inner stegman coming out, but I just wanted a little bit of these little hatches here. And I kind of like doing it with the edge of my brush like that. It's kind of fun. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Vincent. You know, maybe someday I'll be on a Spidey book. I don't know. I'm open to it. He would be a tough one because he is so iconic, you know. Finding your own spin is really the tricky part, and especially since now I don't even understand what's going on with half the books, so I would have to learn about the new characters and trajectories and stuff, but I don't mind doing that. You can always find a way to make things look cool, like if you have enough kind of at least something to chew on with the narrative, you can really funnel that into the characters and really make it fun. All right, so that's pretty good. What do I want to do with this background too? I was going to do buildings. I kind of wanted them like I have them sketched in here, even though the perspective was all wrong on these. It might not matter, but maybe something like that would be better. It's kind of the opposite of what I had before. It's like finding that good break spot there for the I might go with something a little more abstract here just for my own sanity tonight. I've been trying so much detailed stuff today. You guys have no idea. It's just like I don't want to get in here and do building windows right now. I just don't want to do it. And this is, I do what I want. So I think we're going to go slightly more abstract here, but we'll see if we can evoke something. Because I don't want to get my ruler out right now, honestly, if I'm being honest. Sometimes, again, it's just like, what's another way to do it, right? Like, I know the way, right? If I was going to draw buildings, I know how I would do that. It's just a thing you learn how to do, and you can do it, right? But what's another way I can, you know, evoke something without having to rely on the exact same techniques, right? Oh, cool. Yeah, I was there. I was in the Indie Islands section, right by my buddy Malachi Ward, who works on Black Hammer and does some Star Trek covers. And it was an absolute blast. I was right by Maria Wolf and Matt Allison, and Matt Lesniewski was right by us. It was a great spot. That kayfabe goofball with his giant shoes was there. His Doug Funny shoes. But I shouldn't say things like that. Okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, this is still wet, and I'm going to ruin it again if I touch it, but we're going to try. We're going to try. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, we're just going to have to work around it. Let's just see what happens, guys. What tool do I want to use here? I really wish my brush was drier. Let me see what the back looks like. Yeah, see? When it gets like this, the ink kind of just starts to run out like really fast from the tip. And I don't know why it does that. But that's when you know you got to pop a new one in. It's not going to be what I want it to be tonight, though, so I'm going to have to just wrestle with it a little bit. But we are closing in on it, folks. There we go. All right. Okay. If I was, I mean, I should be cutting like a mat right now, but I really don't want to do it. We're just going to roll with it, folks. I'm going to roll with it, throw caution into the wind. Normally, I would cut a mat, and that would probably give me a much different effect, but we're going to go with sort of this drawn at the table look, the at show commission look, where you kind of don't have all your tools, you know, so you got to find like another way to kind of do it. I was it depends though. I was out at the other night at a drink and draw with Dan, and he brought like a box, like a tackle box of his stuff. I was like, bro. But then of course, you know, he did a bunch of amazing stuff with it, so I guess it was worth bringing. But I was like, bro, I bring like 6 pens, and that to me feels like way more than I ever used to bring out with me when I would go draw. I'll bring like 6 pens and like a whiteout and like, you know, a couple erasers. You know, it's never that intense. I don't bring my gouache with me. Like him and my friend Derek did the same thing. Derek Jones, he had his like whole paint set out with him, and we're like in a bar with terrible lighting, and they're trying to paint, and I was like, I'm not even getting my pencils out, man. I can't see anything in here. But they got a lot of work done that night, and I did not. we had a really nice time. All right, so I think what this needs is, oh man, those Warhammer guys too. I don't know if Henry's still on here, but these Warhammer guys, they're off the chain with their like setups that they bring with them. I don't even know, man. Warhammer's so cool. That's another thing I would just kill to be on. I mean, they would never do anything interesting, right? But like what they're doing is what they're doing, and it's great. But I would love to do like a Warhammer comic. Ooh, maybe next Inktober. Maybe I'll do a Warhammer. I don't know if I know enough of the lore, but it's such a cool world, man. Sometimes I just listen to the lore videos while I work of the different Warhammer stuff. And I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. Scott Kroll, who did, it's so funny. Warhammer is like everywhere. So Scott Kroll, who did the Spectre of Relationships stuff with me, he used to paint Warhammer stuff and play Warhammer. And then Mike Manimivable, who did the cover for the first Spectre of Relationships, he paints Warhammer figures now. And then Liam Cobb, who is in both the second book, he's super into Warhammer, or he was, you know. It seems like there's a lot of crossover with comics and Warhammer. Horse here say yes. Dude, I remember I was watching the lore stuff about that the other day, and man, it was so cool. It was so cool. I haven't beat it yet, but I have been playing also casually that bolt gun boomer shooter that came out of Warhammer, and it's been so fun, man. It's like, what if Doom or Heretic was a Warhammer game? And it was really neat. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Okay, so I got another idea on how to help this pop. We're gonna try out some gray markers, which I have a couple here. Let's see what they look like. That's pretty dark. That's too light. I have another one here. What is this? The same thing? This is cooler. Ooh, that might be the one. These are just Tombow dual-sided pens. They got like a brush pen side and another side. They're pretty cool. Oh, here we go. What are these ones? That looks almost the same as that. Oh wow, that's really dark. That's way darker than it looks. I just bought a bunch of these the other day. I was like, I'll find something to do with these. Okay, that's like super dark too. Okay, I think we're gonna roll with him and the other one. Okay, folks, we're closing in on it here. We are closing in on it. No, we're gonna have to go darker than that, Tyrell. Come on. do you think, guys? You liking it? I'll probably put this up on the shop at some point here in the near future too, assuming I don't botch it completely here at the end. So I think let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, now we're going to go in with the other guy, and we're going to fan this out a little bit. There we go. Yeah, buddy. Now, this is a warmer one, so this is going to be a weird effect, but we'll see what happens here. Well, you know. Don't love it, but we'll see what we can do after we erase here. All right. Spider-Man covers that Yusuke Murata did. Yes, those are very cool. Those are very cool, man. I mean, I like a lot of Japanese artists, and I like seeing their takes on our characters. Oh, that's what I forgot. It was this one, right? Nope. It wasn't. It wasn't. This one. Okay. Now, you can kind of see, sometimes at this point you can kind of see when you're like, okay, what needs some little TLC here. And I think the webbing needs just a little bit of TLC. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, we're gonna do some white out, and I think we're gonna be pretty close. I can't. There we go. All right, take a swig here. Okay. Okay. You know what? Really quick though. Sharpen this up a little. Anybody drawn out there tonight? Sometimes I know folks are drawing along. It's always good to do that. I enjoy that. I'll turn on other people's streams and draw sometimes. We're going to just fatten up these lines, make them real juicy. Real juicy. Make this just a beast. Eli's working. Jeremy worked a little bit. Yeah, work in the morning. I feel you, brother. Narrative twist is on the way. Okay, that's exciting, man. That's always fun when you can see what people are, how people feel about it, like the first time. None of my stuff that I've written has had twists. The stuff I've been involved with has, like the Schlub has some really great twists. I love a good twist. I don't know if I'm good at thinking of them, but I love a good twist. Yeah, there you go. It was making those lines nice and fat. That was killing it right there. All right, pro white to save the day. It looks a lot cooler to me on camera. That's for sure. All right. First, let's get these webs in here. Vincent, I feel you, man. I have days like that. Dude, sometimes I get sucked into Monben, and it's just like days of me just watching Monben and not drawing because I got to read the subtitles, but I really want to watch it, you know? So while you guys are here, what do you guys think? Who's a character you guys want to see me draw next time? I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to get a little better about doing some fun stuff that's not, I'll probably work on Eris on here sometimes, but I wanted to, get back to drawing some fan favorites for my own edification. Oh yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that. That's helping it sing a little bit. Jessica Jones, okay. I did, I should do another Darkness. I did do a Darkness commission for my buddy Jay. I might have worked on it on a past stream. If you look through my streams for a Darkness title, you might see it. My friend Jay commissioned me to do Darkness, so I did a 6x9 like this size of the Darkness, and it was a blast. Such a fun character to draw. I didn't know they had an anniversary coming up though. That's cool. Are they doing are they going to release a special thing? Or are they doing any sort of cool stuff for it? Or is it just like a silent kind of a thing? I'm sure they're doing something. He's too smart to leave that money on the table. Silvestri is. Yeah, man. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. We're going to just leave that background just like that. If nobody likes it, psh, whatever, bro. That's just like your opinion or whatever. There we go. There's the webs. Yeah, man. There's Spidey. Let's give his head a little more something up here. A little edge light. You don't think so? You think so? I think so. Maybe just a tiny bit more here to accent some of these shapes. With my tiny little brush here. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I almost did Dune tonight, dude, Eli. But I was kind of like, what would I do? Would I do like my own version of Dune, or would I do like, a drawing of one of the characters as they're portrayed in the new movie? and I couldn't decide, so I was just like, do Spider-Man. I was sitting on the couch with my daughter, and I was thinking about it, and then I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, Quinn, who should I draw? She's like, Spider-Man. I was like, okay. All right, let's practice this little signature I've been working on here. Of course, I left myself nowhere good for it. There we go. 2024, baby. You know what? Just maybe a couple more things on whiteout. I just saw something. Had a thought. That was my first thought. And this is my second thought. Yeah, okay, let's just, okay, one more. All right, folks, there's our Spider-Man from tonight. Let's put him on here. Let's see if that, maybe like a white background. Let's see. There he is, Spider-Man. Spider-Man. He's always fun. He's always fun. All right. Well, everybody, as usual, this has been an absolute pleasure. Before you leave, if you could just go over here or wherever it is and click the like button, wherever that is, and then like hit the subscribe button. And then you should also go pick up, get your pre-orders in for the Schlub collected volume. It will be out in April. It's coming out the same week as C2E2. If you're at C2E2, definitely come by and get it from me. But if not, order it from your shop, or order it from a store and then bring it to the show with you, and I will give you some signature action on there. Really hope you guys enjoyed tonight and had a good time, and I'm always shooting for every week. It's always a matter of family stuff first, but I'll either be on next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, and I hope you guys will tune in and check it out. But enjoy your evenings, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in, and I